Hello, my name is Hope. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I finally decided to follow my father's footsteps and just talk about movies on YouTube. I have wanted to be a YouTuber since probably I saw iCarly. And I have made many attempts, but this is my first genuine attempt as an adult to do this. But anyways, I'm gonna skip all of the sentimental reasons why I'm starting this channel and just talk about what I watched in July. I watched a good amount of movies. You can definitely see the phases that I went throughout the month, and I did watch 19 movies, which I think is pretty good. So I'm literally just going to be going through my Letterboxd in order, starting at the beginning of the month and talking about what I watched and my thoughts on it. So starting on July 2nd, I watched Dunkirk with my boyfriend. Since dating my boyfriend, I was the horror person and all I watched was horror movies, and I've definitely branched out. So what I'm trying to say is there's really not a lot of horror this month at all, which is unusual for me. This will not be a regular thing. So we watched Dunkirk. I've definitely gained more of an appreciation for war movies, and this one was definitely a more wholesome war movie, which is kind of an insane sentence, but if you've seen it, you'd know what I'm talking about because a lot of the men return home. This definitely is not my favorite war film that I've seen. I don't think I have a favorite war film, but it was definitely more of a low-key, more somber war film. And I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. On July 3rd, this is a movie that I saw in the theater by myself, and it was a wonderful movie to see in the theater by yourself. And I saw Materialists. I loved it. It is the same director, Celine Song, who directed Past Lives from last year, I believe. Past Lives was definitely more early A24 film student drama, as opposed to Materialist. I think the characters were great in Materialist. All of the characters had great chemistry, really good writing. I know this was a bit of a divisive film, but I was definitely a fan of what they were doing here. I gave that a 4.5. I thought it was really great. I would love to watch it again with my boyfriend. I don't really know. I was going back and forth between Team Pedro and Team Chris Evans. They were both good in their own ways. Next movie I watched on the 4th of July by myself while there was fireworks directly outside of my house was Debs from 2004. I loved it. Gave it a 4 out of 5. Wonderfully girly, gay, silly action film. If I watched that when I was younger, I think I would have been obsessed with it. It screams 2004 in a great way. Some of the soundtrack choices were a bit obnoxious, I will say, at certain parts of the film, but it was just so much fun, and I wish it was longer. I feel like it was pretty short. That took me forever to find, but it was 91 minutes. The next movie I watched was Showgirls, which my boyfriend and I saw at a local theater. I was just hearing how awful and terrible that movie was, but I really enjoyed it. There were obviously some questionable choices that the filmmakers made. I think it was really good. I didn't give it a super high rating. I gave it a 3 out of 5, but it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, which a lot of people say that it is. It was definitely fun. There was a scene that was not so fun that kind of came out of nowhere, and it just didn't match the whole rest of the tone of the movie, which was quite disappointing and I think kind of unnecessary, but don't think that ruined the whole movie for me. And I thought it was very fun, stylish looking. Definitely a fun experience in the theater with hearing other people's reactions around you. Okay, now we're getting into some weird movies that I watched. Weird for me, as in I didn't ever think I would be the person watching superhero movies. I do have the select few that I enjoy. Now I have some more that I enjoy. To me, it's always, as far as Marvel, it's been quantity over quality for a very long time. I also work in a movie theater, so I kind of despise when Marvel movies come out. It hasn't been nearly as bad as it was before COVID, but those were always the absolute busiest. I think there are some exceptions that I quite enjoy. This is not Marvel, it's DC. But I watched Superman 2 where they go to Niagara Falls. I still gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Obviously, I've been watching the Superman movies in preparation to see the James Gunn Superman. I love David Cornsweet, and I had nothing but high hopes for him. He was great in Pearl, and when it was announced that he was going to be Superman, I was like, that is a perfect man for that. That is a perfect man, period. I thought Superman 2 was really good. I don't think anything beats the chemistry between Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder in the original Superman movies. Nothing has come close in what I've seen of Superman. They just have so much chemistry. The first Superman movie is basically a romance. Superman 2 still had that, and I love like the spunkiness of her Lois Lane, which leads me to the next movie I watched, which was Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder. Hated it. I thought Lois Lane was just dull. Nothing against Amy Adams. I don't think they gave her much in that role, but I just thought she was dull, and they didn't utilize the Clark Kent and the Lois Lane of it all. And I just think Superman kind of has no business being that dark, in my opinion. I haven't read any of the comics or anything. I'm just talking about like what I enjoy from Superman. The next movie I watched was the James Gunn Superman, and I gave that a 4.5 out of 5. We are so back. He made Superman fun again. All of the side characters were fun, and they definitely added to the movie instead of taking anything away. Mr. Terrific. I thought Lois Lane was really, really good. One thing I do wish was that I didn't really know that, well, going into it, I didn't know that she had already knew Clark Kent was Superman. I do wish there was that build up to her finding out, but they made this version of Superman so pure. I really felt the Christopher Reeve of it, while also still being very serious and political, and everything just worked so well together. Yeah, I thought it was great. I've seen it twice. I definitely want to see it again. The next movie I watched was Spiral, from the Book of Saw. My friend and I she lives in North Carolina, and we have been watching all of the Saw movies together, like just pressing play at the same time and just talking about it the whole time we watched it. Spiral was the next one we were on. It was not as bad as I thought. It definitely felt like much more crime movie than horror movie. A lot of Saw movies are like that, but this felt even more so. Chris Rock was the lead, which was kind of strange. There wasn't much Jigsaw. The Saw franchise is definitely fun to watch with a friend, but there's better things to watch than that. The next movie I watched was Fantastic Four from 2005. I am planning on seeing the new Fantastic Four. Marvel seems to be trying to give their movies a more distinct style. I saw Thunderbolts last month, and I think that there was a distinct style to that one, and that's what made it really good. Like, there was personality to it. I'm hoping that is the case with the new Fantastic Four as well. The 2005 one I thought was fun. They were kind of giving like Mystery Inc. Obviously, the special effects were really bad. It was very 2005. I thought Chris Evans was really good as Johnny Storm. I don't have faith in Joseph Quinn because I think he's just weird. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the new one. The next movie I watched was also in the theater. It was actually in the drive-in. If you're local, you know that Thursday Night Terrors is a thing. And they did RoboCop at the drive-in. My boyfriend and I both really enjoy that movie. Fantastic drive-in movie also. You know, it was like an event, so you also heard people's reactions to it. There were a lot of people who hadn't seen it before, and I think it was just great vibes overall. Next, I saw Superman again, blah, blah, blah. Next, I saw the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm not a fan of the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I kind of just wanted to see a movie. I went with my aunt, and we saw that. We had a little day. I got a stomach bug from the Cheesecake Factory, I'm pretty sure, because the next day I literally yacked. That's what I'm associating with the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. It was bad. It was like everything that, you know, like the reboots are doing, like the screams. My favorite character was Madeline Klein's character. I thought she was so much more likable than like even the lead. The next movie I watched was once again in the theater. Saw a lot in the theater this month. I saw Eddington with my boyfriend. We were both really excited for that movie. I feel very like neutral about it. Like I definitely liked it more than I disliked it. I still am uncertain about it. I might have to watch it again. I thought the performances are really good. I found it like weird where Ari Aster's like views align because there's a lot like, oh, both sides are bad. There's obviously a side that's better. Yeah, it was strange. I think there were a lot of like really strong and great scenes in the movie. The choices that the characters made were really interesting. It was definitely like a Coen Brothers style. I also have not seen Beau is Afraid. I think a lot of people compare it to that one of Ari Aster's films. I've only seen Hereditary and Midsommar, and then his like student short films, which are strange. It was definitely not bad. I enjoyed it much more than I didn't. The next movie I watched was Fantastic Four from 2007. It was The Rise of the Silver Surfer. I'll be honest, I was not paying much attention to that. I was kind of just like like staring at the screen. I liked the previous one better, I think. I definitely liked the character development in this one a lot, because now that you know the characters, you kind of like care more what happens to them. Next movie I watched with my boyfriend, we rewatched Challengers, which was one of our favorite movies from last year. It still remains at 5 stars for me. I think that movie is pretty perfect. The score is just so perfect, and the fact that they made a tennis movie that epic was beyond me. If you haven't seen Challengers, I cannot recommend it enough. I rented it from the library, which my boyfriend and I do quite often. Renting movies from the library is super like underutilized. I definitely think everyone should be doing that. The next night we watched 12 Angry Men. He wanted to choose a boy movie, and I was like, okay, I guess 12 Angry Men might be a girl movie. Let's be honest. I think that movie was great. Obviously, you knew where it was going. It seems like a very classic story, like you know what's gonna happen from the beginning. The dialogue was fantastic. The fact that they made that in just one room basically was really great. I loved the characters, the character development. The really old man with the big ears, I want to say, was my favorite character, and we watched that during like a heat wave, so that was kind of the perfect movie to watch because they're like all sweating, wearing like suits. On the same night after my boyfriend went to bed, I put on the movie Red Eye, which is a Wes Craven movie starring Cillian Murphy, and she was in The Notebook. Do I really have to look this up? Rachel McAdams. I'm so sorry, Queen. It was fine. I also saw where it was going. I kind of didn't really care. It doesn't have great reviews, but I just felt like watching a Wes Craven movie. I think Red Eye was fine. It seemed like, if you know who the author Frida McFadden is, I've read a bunch of her books. This seems like an adaptation of a book that she would write. I would pass on Red Eye. If you like literally just want to watch like a mindless thriller, put on Red Eye. The next movie, this is the second to last movie that I'm going to talk about, I watched on July 28th. I watched the movie Oh Hi with my friend. We both enjoyed it so much. Very, very relatable. I thought it was going to be cute, but I didn't have like super high hopes for it. I thought it was wonderful, very charming, very like serious at times. It's starring Molly Gordon and Logan Lerman, pretty much trapped in a room together for the entire movie, and the side characters are even really funny. It got really dark at times, but the humor was just very consistent throughout. Definitely go see Oh Hi if it's still available. The last movie I watched in July was Together. I really wanted to like love this movie, but there are some things that happened in the final act that are keeping me from absolutely loving it. But I loved it up until the third act. It wasn't like movie ruining. I wish they went further with what was happening. There were some reveals that were like eye-rolly reveals, like, oh, of course. But everything up until then, I was so in love with. Alison Brie and Dave Franco. They were great. Obviously, they're actually married in real life. I love that they like have this movie together now, and the promotion has been very funny for it. I still think it is worth watching and seeing in the theater, especially with your significant other. Okay, now that I'm out of breath from talking so much, I don't know why I was like rushing through that. Like I said, I do plan on making more videos that are not just like monthly recaps. I just thought this would be a good thing to start with, but I can guarantee you a what I watched in August video. At least. I would also love to do, well, since I am an independent filmmaker, which still sounds like weird to say. I kind of feel like a poser whenever I say that. I would also love to like document the process of making films, like from start to finish, or even just BTS on set stuff. I think that would be really fun. Also, I just want to do like sit down videos talking about movies, maybe reviews, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's been it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next time.